Audition up and running. And I am now recording on my end.
Same.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Got it.
And there we go. Let me just... No, I don't want to copy the message link. I want to copy the link. You. All right. Let's see. Mute that. Share. Share to my timeline. Tweeted it out. All right. Discord is up. YouTube is up. Facebook is up. Let me just go over to our YouTube so I can see if we get any comments or viewers other than me. Right, the skit. Did you see how I ended it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm cool.
All right. I didn't know if there was anything more.
No.
Okay. Sounds good. Add on the next episode onto the calendar. That's assuming that we don't get a I don't hear back from GLAD or PFLAG about someone who wants to talk Kate Kane.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, turn off. I'm just trying to close some of these tabs that I don't necessarily need. And I haven't heard back from Rebel Force, by the way.
Okay.
Who did you contact?
See, the problem was the one that I wanted to contact, I didn't look at, and they're no longer connected. Oh God, what was the name? It was a comic-based one, actually.
Oh. Well.
I'm blanking. I apologize. I'm blanking on the name.
It's all right. Whatever. It works. All right. Let's do this in 3, 2. On the half shell there the heroes fall. In this day and age, who could ask for more? The crime wave is high with muggins mysterious. All police and detectives are furious because they can't find the source of this lethally evil force. This is serious, so give me a quarter. I was a witness, get me a reporter. Call April O'Neil in on this case, and you better hurry up. There's no time to waste. We need help like quick on the table. Have pity on the city. Man is in trouble. We need heroes like the Lone Ranger when Tonto came pronto. When there was danger, they didn't say we'd be there in half an hour because they displayed turtle power. I'm just gonna end it there. But
yeah, yeah, good job. I don't know why that surprised me. but it did.
Okay. All right, but in all seriousness, for real. And 3, 2. Hello and welcome to Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
This is issue number 85. Our present level patron Ruby has requested Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a favorite franchise of mine, as I think is the same for Doc as well from our childhoods.
Yep.
I was always a Donatello fan myself, being the nerd and the science guy, but I respect Raph.
Yeah, I respect him too. My favorite, I would say, more Michelangelo, only because I always felt he was the most chill out of all of them.
I would have pegged you for a Leo guy.
Nah. I mean, see, once we start ranking turtles like this, it makes it sound like whoever you don't pick, you don't like. That's not what I'm getting at. It's just, I respect all of them. Done it. Okay, let's just do it. Let's just get this out of the way. Ranking. So for me, it's Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael. Oh my God, I'm going to get my butt kicked.
No, I listen, for me, it's, you're going to laugh then. It's Donnie, Leo, Raph, Mikey.
Okay. Not a problem, man.
And then way down after, like Baxter Stockman and, Usagi Yojimbo and Leatherhead, is Venus de Milo.
Nah.
But
on one of the cartoon iterations my daughter was watching, it was a Usagi Yojimbo episode, and I made her stop flipping through channels, and she's like, "What's the problem?" I said, "It's not a problem, it's a solution."
Nice. Yeah, maybe we'll get to Usagi Yojimbo one of these days. I wouldn't have any complaints about that. So, first off, very big news. We have a brand new mayor level patron, Amy, who comes all the way from the UK. So thank you so much, Amy, for joining the rank of our awesome patrons as we continue to grow our small but dedicated band of faithful fanatics. We still don't have a name for them, though. Like, somebody suggested one a while ago. I think Ruby had an idea or Ariel had a suggestion, but damned if I can remember what it is. But we need a good name for our fan base. But in any case, thank you so much, Amy, for your subscription to our Patreon. We have lots of exclusive content there that you can check out. If you want to be cool like Amy, you can go to patreon.com/capesonthecouch and subscribe. There are still several slots available. Amy did mention that she's calling dibs on any of the president level spots that may open up. She wants to be notified immediately. So I don't know if our presidents are going anywhere anytime soon, though. And we're certainly glad to have everybody available. I've been trying to figure out a way to expand the Patreon a little bit, maybe come up with some additional roles, some additional things, but we'll see what happens. There may be some big stuff coming down the pike for the show. We're not quite at liberty to discuss that just yet, but stay tuned. Stay tuned. We're very excited about some things. And if they pan out, knock wood, then we're going to be very excited. And of course, I just jinxed myself with by opening my mouth. Side note, and this also segues into the shout out of the week, that Amy discovered us through Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, which is a hilarious podcast. The title is sort of self-explanatory. Jay and Miles cover X-Men comics, and they go through story arcs, they cover characters, they go through relationships, they break it down. I mean, and they do deep dives. Like, we sort of skim the surface so we can get to the psychological issues. They go deep, like issue by issue, panel by panel breakdown. Sometimes they really dive into the meat of these characters. And Amy said, well, I think you guys would be ripe for a crossover. So Jay and Miles, if you're listening and you're interested, let us know. Right now they're covering X-Man and Earth 295. So if you go to explainthexmen.com, explainthexmen.com, no dashes, you can check out all of their episodes. They're close to 300, I think, at this point. So they've been doing this quite a bit longer than we have, but it's good stuff. So this being our third journey into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle universe. I'm not going to belabor the points too much. We're just going to dive right into the background. So Raphael, for those of you, if you've been living, unless you've been living under a rock for the past 30 years, you are familiar with the Ninja Turtles, 4 turtles mutated by ooze. Raphael, created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, May 1984. And in the comics and in basically every major iteration of the comics that we have seen, both in not just the comics, but even cartoons, live action, movies, TV shows, what have you, Raphael is second in command. He is the angry one. Leonardo being the leader, unless you are listening to the lyrics to Turtle Power, in which Raphael is the leader of the group transformed from the norm by the nuclear goop, which I never got that, and I always disagreed. Side note, by the way, if you want to hear me spit the first verse to that song, go to the live stream, or if you're a patron, it'll definitely make the blooper reel. And so in the original Mirage comics, Raphael is the angriest, and he's the most violent one on the team, which is saying something on a team of 4 ninja turtles. He's the violent one. But he really sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Blanches, I suppose, against Leonardo's leadership. But he eventually comes to understand that Leo's composure makes him the more effective leader, even if Raph is the more passionate one, to put it mildly. So in some of the later Mirage stories, Raphael becomes mutated into a dinosaur-like creature after being attacked by a vampire, because comics. Then in the Image Comics run, he becomes disfigured after he gets blasted in the face, and then he ends up wearing a mask not unlike Casey Jones. And you can go back and listen to our Casey Jones episode. And so he wears a mask to cover his eye. I think it's his left eye is the one that gets damaged. And then at one point, he takes on the mantle of the Shredder. You can listen to our Shredder episode, which wasn't that long ago, because Raphael takes over the Foot Clan during an ongoing fight against the mob. Then in the IDW stories, which is a little bit, they tweak the origin story, which I thought was kind of interesting. After the mutation, he gets separated from his brothers and he's living on the street for a while. And unbeknownst to him, his brothers are all looking for him, but he doesn't know that. And then he helps rescue Casey Jones from his abusive father, and then they become friends for a while. And then he does reunite with his brothers, and he trains under them, or he trains under Splinter alongside of them. But he's very quick to estrange himself from them during difficult times. And there's numerous stories, and we don't have the time nor the energy to get into all of them. Because again, that's not this kind, this isn't that kind of a show, but again, there's some major through points that happen throughout all of this, and we're going to get into the issues right now. And so I think the first thing, and one of the things that basically every iteration discusses, whether it's the cartoons, certainly in some of the more recent cartoons, and even going back to the live action movie, I still love that original 1988 or 1990 live action movie. That is just, it's a thing of beauty. And it's Raphael's rivalry with Leonardo over leadership. And it's the notion that Raph doesn't think that Leo should be the one in charge. And this was also done, I might add, very, very well in the TMNT CGI movie from like 2008, 2009, whenever that was.
Okay.
Where my sister and I saw that in theaters wearing colored bandanas to the theater. I naturally was Donatello and she was Michelangelo because she had a crush on Mikey. Yes. I'm not going to get into that. That's maybe you can diagnose her with some stuff.
Not even going to try.
Good call. I'm circling the drain here at this point, so I'm going to stop talking and say, Doc, Raph doesn't like that Leo is the leader. How does that affect his membership as a member on the team as well as a brother?
So I'm going to reference the Shredder episode right off the bat where Leonardo also came up. And that was begrudging respect, but you know that you're not on the same page. So I use the term frenemy. So I don't know if there's a way to rearrange the words and kind of come up with, well, no, not really. You don't have to. It's sibling rivalry. The idea that you have the perfect opportunity in a relatively small group. That's key to this. We're not talking a humongous organization. We're talking a very close-knit group of people where one person is going to be considered the one to be the face, the person that runs the show. And in theory, if everybody had the exact same ambitions, you would have that almost like a 25% split, and it would always bounce back and forth. But we don't see that in any of the iterations. It usually does just come down to Leo and Raph. And that tells me a lot. And I'm not going to try and pull in all the other characters at the same time, but I just want to make it clear that you mentioned it earlier. There's a certain level of passion that's involved in this because there's a certain level of energy and effort that's required at a bare minimum. If no matter what happens, whether it's you are successful or you're failing, you're going to be the one that takes the brunt of anything that happens. And so, thankfully, because it's comics, you're going to see the turtles win most of the time. But if there are setbacks, how do you handle that? Raph, to put it mildly, can be a bit of a sore loser, to the point that instead of regrouping and trying to figure out as a team what to do, it's more like, it's all you guys' fault. I'll go ahead, and I know we'll get to this later. I'll do this on my own. But the point is, it's an opportunity for everyone to grow and learn from mistakes. He's not focused on that. He's just focused on the idea that you guys are with me, and I'm the strongest, I'm the best, and therefore, by definition, I have to be the leader. That's something that we see often in a lot of areas of life. The idea that because you are the most talented or you have the greatest amount of skills or the greatest experience, whatever it is, you are, quote unquote, default the leader. And Leonardo has a much more nuanced approach. Whether he even wanted to be the leader, his point was there is so much more to just the idea of who's the best as opposed to who actually is looking to cooperate with others, who is actually looking to reinforce plans and actually integrate other people so that they become the better version of themselves, who is willing to look at potential downsides to attacks instead of going impulsively. All of those things come into play, and Raphael pretty much wants none of it. His point is his way or the highway, and he doesn't really care about any of the other aspects of it. Thankfully, though, the gap that sometimes Raphael thinks that's there compared to the other turtles isn't nearly as wide as he supposes. So just because he's, quote unquote, the best fighter, that doesn't mean he is the best by a mile. He's the best of a very elite group. And when you have that, you're going to have people that point out, I can hang with you, and I have other areas that you haven't even explored yet. And the more experience that Raphael gets to see that, he's a person that he needs to see it. You can't talk to him about it. You got to be about it. And Leonardo is able to do that. So once he's able to do that over and over and over, that's a situation where you don't have to talk about your respect. You've simply earned it.
Well, I think it's interesting that you mentioned the idea that, he thinks he's the best fighter, because canonically that's not really historically been the case. Usually the best fighter out of all of them is actually Michelangelo, but he is the least disciplined, which frustrates Splinter, because he's like, you are the most physically gifted out of all of them. You could be the greatest of all if you would actually just apply yourself. But Mikey's too busy having fun and goofing off, et cetera, to take the training seriously. And also that notion of who is the best is alluded to in the TMNT film. And it's actually the thing that really kicks off the fight between Raph and Leo, is the argument that they have on the rooftop, where Leo's like, you're too rash and impulsive. And also, I'm better than you. And that is just that's the straw that breaks the camel's back for Raph, is when Leo says that. He's like, oh, brother, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. And Raph ends up actually beating Leo in the fight and is about to deliver a killing blow, and then realizes, oh, snap, I can't do this to my brother. And then he runs away. And so we see that hot-headedness and that rivalry also come up in the original live action movie, where he goes off and, he wants to go, I forget what it is that he wants to do, whether he wants to go help April, or he wants to go find Splinter or something along those lines, that he wants to go off on his own and do that by himself. And Leo's like, no, we have a plan. Let's all stick together. And Raph's like, screw that. And he goes on the rooftop and then ends up getting his ass kicked by the Foot Clan. So it's not unheard of for him to do that. And I guess that segues into the next issue, which I know on our list is number 3, but I'll bring it up on number 2 then, because I think it segues better. It's his first instinct in a dangerous situation is to go it alone. And that's something that gets him into a lot of trouble, as we've seen over the decades. That, and as you alluded to, this idea that at the first sign of trouble, it's, well, I'm going to go and fight by myself. You can come with me if you want, but I don't want you by my side. I can handle this by myself. I can do it all by myself. It's like he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. And I don't know to whom. I don't know who he's trying to prove anything to, because his brothers love him. Splinter loves him. He's got a close-knit crew. Who is he trying to impress, or who is he trying to prove anything to?
So I know I'm not usually the one to say this that often, but I feel personally attacked by this issue. So I'm thinking back to 2 specific things in my life. One, I don't know if you'll even remember this, but there was a chemistry class where there was a particular type of problem that we actually branched out into teams where we were supposed to solve it. And I remember being a part of one of the teams, and for whatever reason, there was a disagreement. And I literally just said, yeah, I'm going to try to do this myself. I'll see if I get the same answer as you guys, but I'm out, because for whatever reason, I just didn't like the tone or the way things were going. And I remember our chemistry teacher actually saying afterwards, he didn't call me out, but he had observed it. And he said, it's not usually a good idea when something is incredibly difficult and I purposely give a team project to just say that you're going to do it alone. That's one. The other one is when I was a medical.
Wait, was this Mr. Wood?
Well, I wasn't going to give his name, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other time was when I was a medical student, and I was told I had to look up different anticonvulsants, anti-seizure medications. And I was supposed to give a presentation to our attending doctor. And there were residents that were along with us, and we're supposed to all learn from each other and all that stuff. And one of the residents was actually training for neurology. So that would be his area. And it was strongly encouraged that I ask him for help. And I thought to myself, well, I can go to the library and look this stuff up myself. It's fine. And then I realized that there were dozens of anti-seizure medications. And I said, oh, well, I don't know how I'm going to present this in a quick period of time in just one morning report or something. And I flopped. I did a horrible job. And I remember the resident that was pretty much guiding me the most saying, like, dude, you can't just automatically say, yes, you got it. And then when people think you got it, you flop like that. When people are offering you help, just take it. Was that a pride thing? Was it and I didn't have an answer. I don't know why instinctually in certain circumstances I do have that tendency. So when I hear that and I see that and listen to what you're saying, and I've read some of the comics and I certainly have seen just about every iteration of the Turtles, I'm like, yeah, that can be painful, because the idea is, for whatever reason, and I'm not going to go into all the Freudian things about, for some people it's quote unquote they're the only child, or in this case have a distance from siblings in terms of age, and therefore have an individualistic experience in life, and they want to continue that even in groups of other people. For some reason, the idea that you don't want to end up being, I don't want to say subservient, but you want to be self-reliant. You want to show a certain level of independence. In my case, I'll say it's because I don't want to be a burden to anyone. But in Raph's case, it's more that for his own self-esteem, he constantly just needs this self-reassurance that he is the man. Like he really does have everything together. And letting go for just a split second to say that he doesn't, or that the idea that someone else would be able to help, quote unquote, help him, that's a sign of weakness. You can't show that. Just can't do it. Anytime you do that, that means that you're giving up a part of yourself. If you give up a part of yourself, then you're going to end up giving up everything. That sounds irrational, but in the moment, it makes perfect sense. Because when are we seeing this most? We're seeing this usually in situations of extreme emotional stress. And that is a common reaction for some human beings. Once again, I feel personally attacked by this. And so when that happens, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because now it's not just whether or not you went off alone. If anybody calls you out on it, your point is, well, see, you don't support me. You don't believe in me. You don't trust me. So now I got to put more effort into showing you that I can do this by myself. So it just starts to feed upon itself. It can. It doesn't have to, but it often does. And it just creates this spiral, sometimes of isolation even. And for anybody, that's in the long run not healthy.
Huh. I learned a little bit about you just now. A little bit more. A little bit more. Even after 25 years of friendship, you still find ways to surprise me. And yet, no. Like, it's one of those things where I guess I didn't know the depth to which it was. I had some inklings about some things, but interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I guess in that tight-knit group, it's hard for him, because I guess maybe he's trying to find his own identity within the group, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to prove that he's the strong one, or he wants to carve out a separate identity in conjunction with the group dynamic, especially given that, as you said, it is such a small, tight-knit group. It's not a large organization. There's 4 of them. So it would be very easy to pigeonhole him into something, and I think that upsets him. So very, very interesting observation. So the last issue that I want to bring up is, historically, we see he's got somewhat of a slightly contentious friendship with Casey Jones. They're friends, and there's a bond there, but there's also some, I don't want to say a rivalry, but there's this notion that almost like a competition of who can kick the most ass and in different ways. And it's led to some fights between them. And I thought that was another area that was done very well in the original live action movie, as we got to see the two of them sparring. Jose Canseco bat, tell me you didn't pay for this. Cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket. Nobody understands cricket. You got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. I could go on and on quoting that movie. But talk a little bit about that, because we've already done Casey. So I think it would be good to sort of show the flip side to that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about the idea that you got two guys that really revel in kicking butt, like you said, they have that as a common bond. So you don't have to dig deep to recognize when people connect on a visceral level, then you don't need nearly as much talk. And all the talk that's done is filler for the most part. It's flavor text, to put it another way. So the closest harmony that they have is when they're fighting, either sparring with each other or fighting enemies. So how do you keep that going? In other words, it's not possible to say, hey, do you want to punch each other in the face over lunch? Do you want to, practice grappling holds while we, discuss politics? Like that? There's no analogy. There's nothing analogous to what they have at that level. So it's going to create some artificial barriers. And no one really knows how to get past that point. And I'm not just talking about them now. I'm talking human beings in general. If you have, I'll give a perfect example. If you have gym buddies, you know what you're going to do at the gym. You know how it works. It can be intellectual. You are part of the chess club. You have certain things that you're going to all bond around. That's going to be a common point, and that's pretty much what you're going to talk about in that environment. But then when you try and expand outwards, there's naturally going to be situations where in your mind, because we all naturally do this, we think because we share one major category with other people that almost all the other categories are just going to naturally fall in line. Spoiler alert, that's not the case. So when a person has a different political view than you, or likes a different music group than you do, or all these other little nuanced things or major things that you didn't consider outside of that unique environment, it can really floor us. It can really change that dynamic. Someone that you, because of that one bond, you thought was like super tight and so close with you, and you're brothers, and this is great. That's, what do you mean we're different? No, I can't tolerate that. I can't handle that.
I'm the one who's feeling personally attacked.
So I think that's where a lot of it stems from. The idea that, I mean, don't get me wrong, they do have a lot in common. I don't want to make it sound like they're completely different people, but the idea that because they have that one super tight knit area, all of the others naturally are either going to have to grow, or they're just going to have to admit that they're just not on the same wavelength all the time. So unfortunately, how do you usually handle conflicts? They're not the ones that usually, quote unquote, talk it out. So when you have one language that you speak and it's very physical, you're going to go back to what you know. So that is always going to create that level of tension. And once again, I know I'm talking about them because they're fighters and all that, but I mean, that, once again, that could be anything. I don't care if you're a member of the AV club. I don't care if you have any other major topic where you only relate in that one zone. And when people start splitting off and doing other things, you're going to end up trying to bring it back to that other area that you have commonality with. Some people will revel in that, and they'll say, you know what, this is my silo of what I'll talk about with you, and that's it. Or it'll be a situation where no matter what, that person will come up on your Facebook page and you'll be like, oh man, if we're not, we're not talking about the club right now. I can't deal with you, man. So that's the best thing I can come up with, just so that everybody can relate to it. Because it's kind of hard when you're talking about, kind of a, aggressive sociopath with a lot of weapons in sports, and another guy that's a trained ninja warrior that also happens to be a turtle.
Yeah, I think it's a little difficult to find something analogous to hit the microphone there. Yeah, I think it can be difficult sometimes to find something analogous, but I do think that, excuse me, I do think that idea of that because you have one common interest, that all of your other interests will similarly align. I think that's a fairly common thing. And I think we all collectively fall victim to that at some point or another, that we think that, oh, this person we get along with so well here in this sphere, that therefore that bond is going to spread elsewhere. And like I said, that's why I feel personally attacked, because goodness knows that's happened to me on a number of occasions, that because I get along really well with somebody here and then come to find out that we are diametrically opposed politically, and or another facet of life. And then how do you compartmentalize your relationship? Can you compartmentalize your relationship? Is that something? Not everybody can do that. Some folks can. I struggle with it, to put it mildly. I either love all of you or I dislike all of you. It's very hard for me to like pieces of people in certain circumstances. And so it's, especially as I've gotten older, it's caused me to rethink some of the relationships and the friendships in my life because of that. Because I was willfully blinding myself to the rest of the situation where we were not compatible, just because this one area we were really cool in. And then but is it worth it? That's the question I think we all have to ask ourselves when we're dealing with those types of scenarios in our own personal life is it worth it? Are you willing to put up with the other areas of your life that you don't agree, where you're incompatible, because of the strength of this one area where you are? And again, that's a personal choice. Certainly not for me to make that call for anybody else to say you should or shouldn't continue to associate with whomever. But that can be difficult. And especially if you realize that you can't, that can be painful emotionally and hopefully only emotionally, hopefully not physically. But I mean, it potentially can be. That can really mess you up. And I guess Raph and Casey, being who they are, they're never really going to talk about that. So it's not going to come up in conversation. As long as they're kicking ass together, it's all good. Nothing else matters at that point. We don't have the luxury. Yeah. The overwhelming majority of us, I would say, don't have that luxury of saying, listen, we're in this to, we're only in this to survive. Maybe folks in the armed forces or, right. Police. That's all that matters. Yeah. As long as you've got my back and I've got yours, I don't care anything else. So I think that would be something analogous, perhaps, is,
yeah.
So, soldiers in a squadron or battalion or police officers. Mm-hmm. So, well, I think this is as good a spot as any for us to take a short break. We'll throw in a couple of plugs. When we come back, we'll get into treatment. Stay tuned.
Alrighty.
I forget. You're going to let earlier when you said, they're not going to talk it out. All I could hear is in my head was, now talk it out. Now talk it out. Now, East Side
Oh
talking
my
it out.
God.
Now, West Side talking it out.
Yeah.
I don't. It popped in my head, and
Okay.
of course I had to like bite my tongue because I didn't want to just interject with that in the middle of the
Yeah.
relevant, the serious discussion that we're having there.
Uh-huh.
But all right. In 3, 2, welcome back. So in-universe treatment. Oof. Would you bring in Casey?
I'm going like the most dangerous situation here. I know we're not dealing with substances, and I know that's what people usually think of when I'm with what I'm about to say. He's going to have an intervention. It's not just Casey. It's April. It's the rest of the turtles. It's Splinter. It's all hands on deck, because there is, of course, the risk that he walks out, but the idea that whatever you want to talk about, if it's his anger, if it's his interactions, whatever, having everybody on the same page, that unanimity would, I think, help the situation, because I don't think he wants to back down from a fight. It's just, this is a different kind of fight for him. And he doesn't know the tools. He doesn't know where to go in with that type of circumstance. And I definitely would want Splinter there, because I think that would be the one voice that he might be able to understand that maybe there's a different technique. And I know he would probably just immediately think fighting, but like, no, different technique. What can you do with some of this stuff going on? I'm not there as the therapist. I'm there as the mediator, as the moderator of what more than likely would be a very intense discussion. And it doesn't all have to get hashed out in one session or whatever, but I think the level of intensity of, because sometimes when people, as we said, he has kind of a chip on his shoulder, he goes alone. If it's just one person saying it, that can be rationalized away. It's just that issue. That one person, I can live my life just not dealing with that person. So be it. If it's everyone that you, and more importantly, the people that you consider to be allies and are close to you, and to a person, they are pointing out that there is something you need to address. Someone like him, that's a brick wall that he needs to punch through. And I think he would rise to that challenge, as long as he viewed it as a challenge. If you create it as something that he looks at as a goal that needs to be, or a hurdle that needs to be jumped over, I think he would do it. If it's more along the lines of, this is something that's so foreign to you that you'll never get it, or they're talking past him, or trying to make him sound dumb, then it falls flat. But that's why I'm the mediator there. I would try and make sure the conversation went in the proper direction.
Well, yeah, he's definitely going to shut down if you try. Certainly, he's going to rationalize it if it's just one, and he's going to shut down if you talk down to him, because you're just going to feed into that anger and the notion that I'm going to do this alone. But I think he does have a breaking point where he realizes, even just again, canonically and historically speaking, that he understands that there's only so much that he can do by himself. And so I think, again, this would require a coordination with everyone before the intervention. But if you get everybody on the same page, you may be able to do that. Interesting. I wasn't entirely surprised when you said intervention, and I didn't think substance abuse or what have you. So, but that's just me. So out of universe, then, I think then what we were talking about before the break would potentially be analogous to a soldier, or a police officer, or somebody with anger management issues who has trouble, who chafes under leadership, and who feels the need to sometimes say, screw it, I'm going to do this by myself. How do you address that while getting them to remain efficient and effective at what it is that they do, but with a cooler head?
Well, first I say you're a loose cannon, and then you need to turn in your badge. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's one of the oldest tropes ever. No, really, I want to make sure the person feels heard. Often that type of anger may come from a place where either through their experience or their knowledge, they think that they're being downgraded or ignored, and that can lead to the anger. If it's a matter of just doing that can do wonders. Once we're past that point, and usually it's pretty quick, it becomes a matter of the person's goals. Are they actually looking to get a promotion? Are they looking to be higher ranked in the force? In that case, my motivation and discussion with them is, well, what did they say are the criteria? See, and that's the thing. I have to make sure the focus is external in that sense. Not saying what's wrong with you and what do you need to fix about yourself. It's what is it that you need to accomplish so that you get your goal. That's if it's going that route. If it's more, I don't give a damn about any ranks, or I don't care about promotion. I just want to be me. Then that person may not even have the wherewithal to discuss what it is in terms of emotional anger, or have the language to describe why they are experiencing the anger that they're going through, or the impulsivity that they're going through. In which case, I'm not going to shy away from the medication discussion. If a person it really just can't even get that language out just yet, I'm going to use usually something like what's called an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. There's plenty of them available, where the way I've described it to people, everybody's a stick of dynamite. We don't know what's going to make them explode. And therefore, if we can just wet the wick a little bit, if we can just lengthen the fuse a little bit, it'll give that space and that opportunity for the person to start recognizing their emotions before they get to the point of exploding.
You've mentioned that on the show before. You've used that analogy.
I know. Yeah. But I haven't used it in a while, and this is one of those where it's really bread and butter in terms of its approach, because we're back to that ABCs of cognitive behavioral therapy, where, okay, we have, whatever the trigger is, we have the result of it, the person going off on their own or whatever, and we're still trying to figure out that middle ground, that middle point, that middle belief in the ABC category. What is it that you are automatically saying to yourself that's leading to this? And if it's a matter of, hate to say it, but maybe it is insecurity. Maybe it is the idea that you actually don't have a lot of confidence in yourself, and this is the only way you think you can prove it. In which case, well, then it's my job to reinforce your positive self-worth. If it's more along the lines of, the world is an unjust place and I just don't agree with it, then it's not my job to show the justice of the world. My job is to point out that even in an unjust world, that doesn't mean that there can't be periods of justice that you can influence in a more positive way than just saying screw it all. It doesn't have to be that extreme. So there's some variability in terms of what the person's beliefs are. So in those circumstances, this is one of those situations where if we're talking about someone that's on the force, still active, I also need to assess just how bad those reactions are. Are we talking? Oh man, are we talking about excessive force? Are we talking about just simply blowing up at your colleagues? What level are we talking about here? Because I also have to look at if the person could still be active duty. So from that standpoint, that's a very touchy subject too. So I have to monitor that. Person may need a leave. You may need to have some time off. And it blurs the line, because on one hand you have confidentiality, on the other hand you have public safety. So anyone that does that on a regular basis, I'm thinking of you, Ben Stover. Godspeed, because it is amazing work and it can be very rewarding. So those are some of my thoughts on what I do in out of universe.
Well, I'm sure Ben will appreciate the shout out and the kudos to him. And we got to get him on the show solo one of these days. Not that there's anything wrong with Hannah and Brittany, but we'll get Ben on, and we can tie in some of that stuff. So I think the discussion, and I don't want to get too timely with it, but I think the discussion around the mental health of public safety officers is very timely right now and is really coming to the forefront of these things. In fact, I just had a discussion with my wife the other night about the video going around about the police officer who's upset over the Egg McMuffin. And that sort of opened up a discussion about stress levels and anxiety in members of the police force and the impact on their effectiveness and their ability to do their jobs. So that was it was an interesting discussion. You look like you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I honestly don't, mainly because at this point, when people say, hey, the video of, I've learned for myself, for my own mental health, I stay away.
Well, no, this is a video of a police officer. She's in a car by herself. She's recording, and she's upset because she wanted an Egg McMuffin. Long story short, they told her to pull up because it wasn't ready yet, and she just left because she couldn't see it being made. And I guess she was concerned that they were going to do something to it. And she was tired and exhausted and just, she's saying, if you see a police officer, just say thank you because we don't hear it enough. And you could tell she was having a breakdown, and the Egg McMuffin was,
I hear you.
It wasn't about the Egg McMuffin.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. Got it. Okay. I appreciate. I appreciate that description.
The bigger discussion. And she chose to share this video to social media in an attempt to humanize the officers that have been going through a lot lately. And some folks didn't see it as humanizing and so on and so forth. So it was,
I could see where that's going.
It led to, like I said, an interesting discussion between myself and my wife, but that sort of ties into what it was that you were talking about, the notions of stress and what that can do to you internally and mentally while you're still trying to do your job. So with all of that being said, let us get Raphael on Dr. Issues' couch. Yeah,
all right. What voice are you going?
I watched the video, and like I said, it was interesting to see the different takes. I'll put it that way, over what it means for this particular officer to come out and post this video crying over an Egg McMuffin.
It's interesting because I do have a close friend of the family who is a police officer, and he reached out to me and Sabrina and basically was just saying, based on just the entire dynamics of the country right now, he was reaching out to us, and instantaneously the same way we reached out to him. And I'll tell you exactly what I said. I said, by the way, you have been an exemplary example of what a police officer should be. And I remember he texted back. I mean, it was rapid fire. He said, that means more than you will ever know. So from that standpoint, I think the bottom line for all of this is that there are a lot of people that are hurting. I mean, just in a lot of pain, and even though it's all the same one thing, the fact that on both. I shouldn't even say both, on every side, because I think that there are other nuanced sides with
Agreed.
this. But just there's just so much pain, and I think that's the point. And when we get down to it, I really hope. I mean, even amongst my colleagues, I don't think we're doing it enough. If we just acknowledge, okay, everybody is hurting right now. How do we heal? What's the healing point? What do we need to do so that there is some universal healing that can happen? And recognizing that staying the exact same status quo is not going to get that done. I don't have the perfect answer. I'm just saying, and I know that scares a lot of people. That's probably scaring people if they're listening to me right now. Change is going to allow for healing. The status quo is going to allow for continued pain. That's it. That's all there is to it, really. So
you're getting no argument from me,
maybe
brother.
this is going to the ether and nobody ever hears this. Yeah, I know. Maybe this goes into the ether and nobody ever hears that again. But that's my stance right now. That's really how as you can tell, that's really how I feel.
Same. Yeah. Something's got to give. So.
So what I was trying to ask before was what voice you going for with this?
I'm going for tough guy.
Yeah, I know it. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay.
You know, he always has the Brooklyn, the tough guy type accent. That's just, you know, that's who Raph is. I'm not going to give him anything that isn't, you know, he's not like a soft wussy type. Oh, excuse me. Had to come out at least one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, all right. So I think I'm ready.
All right.
Whenever you are.
Let's see. Okay. In 3, 2. Hello, Raphael. I'm Dr.
Hey, Doc.
Issues. So what brings you here today?
Casey said you were good.
Huh. For someone who doesn't like to talk all that much, his word of mouth recommendations are much appreciated.
Who else have you seen?
Never mind. Let's talk about
my
you.
favorite subject.
Do you have any history of emotional symptoms?
I don't cry if that's what you're getting at.
It doesn't have to be sadness. I mean, there's a wide range of emotions that we all experience. They're only problematic if they impair your ability to function or impact.
Oh, I love
people.
to impact people hard. This one time I had a run and start on a foot soldier, and I just wanted to.
Hey! I want to stay on topic, please. If you hang around Casey, I'm sure you can hold your own in a fight.
What do you mean by that?
What?
You think I just hold my own? You don't think I can win? Listen,
no,
Doc, I'm a master
not.
class in kicking ass. Don't even think about trying to neuter me.
I'm not. Look, wow, you sure are protective of your status. I wouldn't dream of questioning your abilities, but let's get back to that question about emotions. It may not be sadness, but I get the sense of anger, pain. Help me understand.
The only pain I know is what my opponents get. There's a ton of ways you can gut someone with a sigh. Like this one time I had a thug in a chokehold, and he was...
Hold it. Do you always deflect tough questions by bringing it back to violence? Is that all you know?
You don't get it. I'm out of here. Casey said you'd get it. You try this woo-woo bullshit. I don't do that garbage.
Whoa. Look, man, this is the one fight you can't afford to lose, and you back down just like that?
What did you just say?
Look, man, I know you could whoop me. Okay, I'm a boxing fan. I'm an MMA fan. I don't pretend to know what you know. I'm saying though, you're fighting your own brain, and that's a hard way to go.
Hard way. You actually see what people do in the streets. You know what it's like to have the only people that come close to your experience stay in the sewer. I'm supposed to be happy about that. I don't go, wow, what's wrong with Raph? Boo hoo. No, I got my squad, and even if they don't step up, I got my own back. I need nothing from no one. If you can't do this shit on your own, you shouldn't be doing it at all. That's just what I think.
Well, I'll just say it. It's clearly anger.
Jackpot, hot shot. But you said if it impairs me. Do I sound impaired to you? Huh?
I have to think carefully how I
just spit
put
it out.
this. Anybody walk around on eggshells when they're around
Do
you?
that again.
Sorry. Anybody walk on eggshells around you? Well, I bet you they do. You ever ask your squad how they feel? They ever
all the
piss you
time.
off? And
I
what
go
do you
blow
do?
off some steam. I need that time by myself.
They ever go
if
after
they
you?
need me, but they know better than to test me when I'm dead. Why am I even telling you this?
It's just a thing that people do around me. Does anyone ever tell you that you're appreciated?
They don't need to.
That wasn't the question.
Sure.
And what's your
This ain't
response?
finishing school, Doc. Please and thank you only go so far. All right, manners go out the window when you're getting your ass kicked by some shitheads.
I've heard about Splinter. Would he agree with your statement?
No. No, he wouldn't. Why you got to hit me with stuff like that? What is all this, whatever it is? What is it supposed to do?
It's supposed to get you to funnel rage as needed. So instead of acting, it's supposed to get you to funnel rage as needed. Instead of burning out like a streaking comet, you'll be a long-lasting star shining in the night sky.
Actually, comets are fairly eternal themselves. You know, Donnie told me once that most celestial bodies have been around longer than living organisms.
Whoa, so there is some brains.
Who said there
Brian.
wasn't?
Look, man, no offense, man. I'm saying you're a multi-threat. Dang, man, can we sand down that chip on your shoulder?
Well, if you keep me a lean, green, shell-kicking machine.
Oh, I don't think that'll be an issue.
We'll get along just fine. See you next time, Doc.
Yeah, that is 100% what I envisioned, by the way.
Good. Glad I could meet your expectations. All right. I'm just trying to think of how to segue. And 3, 2. Well, that wasn't as much of a shellacking as I thought you would take.
Oh, you're the one with puns now.
I got jokes.
Okay. Yeah, good for you. All right. You really think you're better than me now?
That's what we're gonna do. That's how we're gonna. Didn't we just have this discussion?
Yes, we
literally
did.
spent an hour talking about it.
Yeah, I swear I will try and get better.
Man.
I promise.
Don't worry.
I promise.
So recommended reading is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Body Count. This is actually one of the most adult stories in the Ninja Turtle canon. It's an original Mirage story. Basically, the long and the short of it is that Raphael and Casey Jones team up to kick 17 different kinds of ass. So we'll have links to it in the show notes. We'll see if it's available on trade or on Comixology. So that's going to about wrap it up for this week. Next episodes, support systems in comics, character redacted, our big surprise character that we're working on. And then Brian, our present level patron and good friend of the show, although I'm questioning how good of a friend he is then.
Don't create silos. We just had this discussion.
He wants us to do Eeyore. He's not a comic book character. But Doc,
but he is a literary character. That's stretching it a little bit, but I'm saying just as a character, I love it.
Oh, bother. So we'll do Eeyore for you, Brian. So as we said at the top of the show, we've got a Patreon. Again, thank you to our brand new patron, Amy. We're right chuffed to have a new patron, especially one from across the pond. So you can so you can go to patreon.com/capes on the couch and you can subscribe for $1, $3, or $5 and get some additional content, some cool swag. You can also go to our TeePublic site, teepublic.com/capes on the couch. If you would like to get some additional merchandise, we've got our logo as well as our Why Because Comics. Sorry, I took a pause because I wanted to see our site is on sale the 24th through the 26th. So, and if you go to teepublic.com and do a search for Capes on the Couch today, the 24th, the day this episode is released, the 24th through the 26th, our store is up to 35% off, $13 tees, $30 hoodies, $20 phone cases, and more. So you can go to teepublic.com/user/Capes on the Couch. We'll have links in the show notes as well to our merch site. And hopefully one of these days we'll overhaul the website and we can just say like, hey, go to capesonthecouch.live/merch. And there it is. But we're not there yet. I don't have the time for WordPress. You can find us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Capes on the Couch. We have a Discord server, which is growing ever so steadily by the day, by the week. Slowly but surely, you can go to tinyurl.com/Capes Discord, capital C, capital D, to join our fan community where you can listen to us as we record our live streamed episodes. We're also on YouTube and our Facebook pages as well. Thank you, Get Vocal, for sharing those links. And I think that about covers all of the social media. So, Doc, anything you want to say before we head out?
When you see someone usually raging out to others out loud, you realize that they're often spending the rest of the time suffering in silence.
I guess since I had the pun, you had to get serious on us, but I appreciate it. And it is the truth. So for Doc Issues, I'm Anthony Sitko. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.